Hi guys, Jeff at Slavens Racing. This video is about the JD Jetting Power Surge 6X fuel injection tuner for the new KTM and Husqvarna 250 and 300 TPI two-stroke models. So they've got excellent instructions, and I've got other information on their website as well. We also handle this product now, and we'll be glad to support what we sell. And I just want to show you just some of the things I'm going through here when I'm installing it. So just little bits and pieces of tips here and there. So here we go. So the tuner, that's the little tuner box right there. They recommend that you mount it down in this area, which is fine. But with these bulletproof radiator guards, there's not as much room back in here, so it won't tuck you in right there. So if you have bulletproof radiator guards, you have to change your locations just a little bit. So I'm going to put mine, well, I'm sorry, I'm doing a bad job here. So instead of having it right there where my finger is, like they suggest, I'm going to have it up a little bit higher, right there. So wherever you put it, before you actually install it there, turn your handlebars, to the right and left, just to make sure there's clearance. Because if you have it overhanging here a little bit, you will squish it with the forks and destroy it. Don't want to do that. It's not an expensive piece, but it's not cheap either. I think it's around $250. So anyhow, that's the first little thing I ran into here with the bulletproof radiator guards. Is I'm going to mount it up in this area. I also just stuck it through this little guide here for the wiring harness, and then ran it back here. So here's the rest of the wiring. It plugs. Now this stuff plugs into the factory harness. So it plugs into this fuel injector plug right here. There's one on each side, and they tell you how to do this in the instructions, but I'm just going to go over it anyhow. So you have to push there. You have to push right here where my thumb is. You see kind of a little T right there. Push right there, and that lifts up the prong down here. Sorry, doing this by myself here. So it lifts up that little tab right there and allows it to come off. Do not pull on the wires. Definitely do not pull on the wires. That's a recipe for disaster. So push on this T section right there. If you have to, you can put a little hook, under the bottom of it, something like, something like that, and pull up on it as you're pushing on that little T tab. But or you can use a screwdriver or whatever, but do not pull on the wires. So give me just a minute, I'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now I've got the JD tuner connected. I think these are called PS6 connectors, if I'm right. So these are the connectors from their harness, and then back here in this black boot, that's got the connector from the old harness, from the factory harness. So their wiring harness plugs in to the fuel injector on both sides, and then it splits off and plugs into their the original connector, and then I just slid the boot back down over that. So it does come with a lot of wiring. You can see this excess wiring here. It's about, I don't know, 8-10 inches too long for the way I'm installing it. I think they probably did that for guys that want to use other locations, like maybe in the battery box or the air box, something like that. I'm not really sure what their intent was there, but I'm guessing that's what it was. And for this application, for the location where I've mounted the tuner, I really prefer shorter wiring, but that's not a big deal. All you gotta do is fold them back and forth a couple times and tuck them in under that rubber strap, and you're good to go. Also comes with an extremely long ground wire, which right at the current moment I've got running back to my battery connector, just as a temporary connector. I don't have the right end fittings for that wire, but what I'm going to do is run to Radio Shack and get some connectors and then plug it in, or tied in where they recommend, which is right there at that bolt. The bolt that holds the coil on. Sorry, it's kind of blurry. So that's where it's supposed to go, but if I put it in there, I'm just going to have to fold the wire over about a zillion times, and I didn't really want to do that, but I'm going to just shorten that wire and put a new connector on it and plug it in right there. Not a big deal. You know, 50-cent connector. Yeehaw. I did want to give you one little pointer over here. So now it's ready for the tank and shrouds and seat and everything to go back on. And this O-ring right here, that's the fuel line where it plugs into the gas tank. I highly recommend you keep several of those in your stash around your workshop. And wouldn't even hurt to keep one in your fanny pack in a Ziploc bag, because if you have to take that tank off out in the field or in your garage, if you don't line that up just perfectly on the way back together, you will nick that fuel line, that fuel line O-ring, and at that point the bike won't start because it can't build pressure, and there's a pressure sensor. So definitely get some of those. We've got them in stock, I believe. I know I've got my own little stash of them here at home. So from there, I'm going to reinstall the tank and seat and shrouds and everything, and then I'll give you a report from there. This engine is modified, so I'm going to, you know, it's got our S3 head with the AAA insert in it, which have V-Force reed assembly in it, and it's got a FMF fatty pipe. So all those things have made it leaner. So I'm going to start out with their racing mods settings. So you can see there's the stock settings, and there's the racing mods, and there's the preset for off-road. So that's where it comes from JD, is preset in those off-road settings. And that's where, you know, unless your bike is highly modified, that's where you should start out. Just leave it alone and go for a ride and check it out. You know, don't email me and say, where should I, you know, I just installed this, where should I set it before I go riding? Set it right, just leave it alone, go ride it. Always leave it alone and go ride on most modifications. Check it out first. So mine is modified, so I'm going to use those racing mod settings, and then I'm going to go ride. And just wanted to give you a little FYI here. With the S3 head and the reeds and the JD tuner, the dyno shows it's about a 6 horsepower increase. It's huge. 6 horsepower on 250 is a huge increase. And for you guys down at sea level, you can use that AAA insert. We recommend you use that AAA insert on the 250 heads only, not the 300s. So you can use that, and it works very well if you want a lot of grunt, low-end, mid-range torque. So let's get back to their instructions here for a minute, because I'm going to make a separate video on tuning this JD tuner, because this video is already getting too long. And so what I've done so far basically completes the installation part, but there will be an upcoming video on tuning it. This is about a 4-page tuning sheet that they give with it, tuning and installation sheet. And it's very good. They've done a very good job of writing the instructions. I've written a lot of instructions over the last 40 years. I know how difficult it is. And I've read these instructions 3 times, and I'm still going to have to read them some more, because there's still questions I have. There's things that aren't totally clear to me, but that's my fault, not their fault. I'm more of a visual learner, and I struggle sometimes with instructions. They just don't always make sense to me. That's just a learning deficit that I have, as well as many other people have. So if your bike's not highly modified, start with the preset. If you've done a bunch of stuff like I have, start out with the racing settings, and then stay tuned for my next video. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. There's a link below the video, and in the description section of this video there will be a link to the JD tuner, so you can check it out on our site and get the detailed information about it. So for now, It's time to go riding, guys. Talk to you soon.